In the soft golden hush of a late autumn afternoon, when the wind carried the faint scent of pine and distant ocean air, billionaire Thomas Whitmore stood beside his gleaming line of luxury cars, outside a quiet private airport, his face carved with worry, not because the world expected something from him, but because all he truly cared about was the small, fragile hand of his mute daughter, Lily, holding onto his coat sleeve, a tiny hand that trembled whenever she sensed strangers, noise, or anything new. And while reporters assumed he was here to check his fleet or greet political elites, the truth was far gentler. Today was the first day. Lily had agreed to step outside her comfort zone, and Thomas, despite owning half the skyline her airplane had flown over, felt helpless when he couldn't understand what she feared, what she wanted, or what sat heavy inside the delicate heart of a child who hadn't spoken a word since birth. A silence that felt louder than thunder in the soul of a father who would trade every dollar he had for a single spoken "Daddy." But as sunlight shimmered off the hoods of the cars and Lily's big blue eyes wandered nervously. Across the parking lot, a dusty old pickup rolled in, clashing sharply with the billionaire's polished world, and from it stepped a tired-looking single dad with a backpack slung across one shoulder and a soft, kind warmth in his eyes, his clothes worn but clean, his presence simple yet quietly confident. And he was searching around as if unsure whether he belonged in a place built for wealth. Thomas barely noticed him until Lily tugged his sleeve for the first time in months, not in fear but in curiosity, her gaze fixed on the stranger's young daughter beside him. And then something extraordinary happened, a flutter of hands, a movement so subtle Thomas nearly missed it, because Lily, who never interacted with anyone, lifted her trembling fingers and signed a hesitant question toward the other child. But the little girl didn't understand, and Thomas's heart cracked with the familiar sting of helplessness, until the single dad turned, watched Lily's hands, and then, with a calm smile that radiated pure gentleness, he knelt to the child's eye level and signed back with perfect fluency, his motions smooth, expressive, full of life. And for the first time in her entire life, Lily's face changed, not with fear, not with retreating sadness, but with astonished hope, her fingers replying rapidly in excited bursts, her little body leaning forward instead of stepping back, and Thomas stood frozen, breath caught in his chest, because he had never seen his daughter come alive like this, and he could barely process the miracle unfolding inches away from him. The stranger understood her, spoke her language, made her feel seen. Lily let out a soft gasp, silent, but so full of emotion that it shook Thomas to the core, and she stepped toward the single dad as though she had known him forever, as though the universe had finally placed the right person in her path. The man, introducing himself silently in sign as Ethan, explained that his late sister had been deaf and he had learned sign language to raise his own daughter with empathy. And Thomas felt a weight lift from his chest that money had never been able to lift, a weight only shared humanity could shift, because Ethan wasn't dazzled by the billionaire's wealth nor intimidated by the fleet of cars. He was simply present, compassionate, real, and when Lily gently touched Ethan's wrist and signed, "Thank you," Thomas nearly broke, his vision blurring with the painful relief of a father who had been waiting years to see his child connect with another soul. The two little girls sat on the curb, exchanging clumsy but delighted signs, and Ethan softly interpreted for Thomas, helping him understand his daughter's words for the first time without the barrier of clinical translators, who made everything feel cold and mechanical. Thomas listened, tears slipping down his cheeks, as he finally learned Lily's fears, her dreams, her longing to be understood, and his heart trembled with gratitude for this stranger who had stepped into their world like a quiet miracle. As the evening sky shifted to a warm rose gold and airplanes hummed overhead, Ethan stood and gently reassured Thomas that Lily wasn't broken, that she was brilliant, expressive, full of stories waiting to be understood. And Thomas, powerful, wealthy, respected, felt small in the best, most humbling way, because a man with worn boots and tired eyes had just given him something priceless, the doorway to his daughter's inner world. Lily hugged her father's leg, then signed, "Can he teach you?" And Thomas nodded instantly, desperately, softly, because he would learn the whole language, if it meant hearing his daughter without sound. Ethan smiled, lifting his daughter into his arms, and as they prepared to leave, he signed, "Anytime," as though helping a billionaire was the most natural thing in the world. Thomas watched him go, heart full, mind quiet, and soul transformed, realizing that sometimes angels don't descend from the sky, they drive old pickups, speak with their hands, and leave you changed forever. That night, for the first time, Lily fell asleep on her father's chest with a smile, her small fingers loosely signing the shape of hope, and Thomas whispered a silent promise into her hair, a promise he would keep for the rest of his life. She would never face the world alone again.